and you would have overlapping and complementary projects rather than competing ones where you'd be duplicating effort and not maximizing the use of the euros that would be funding this. So that's the idea of why TESI exists, to sort of organize a strategy. Now, that's still an evolving strategy. Okay. But they asked me to come to sort of explain the Synberg model and how it works insofar as how we fund projects and why we fund one project and another. And that was what I explained. And when I went there, that was my role in that. That's been going on for a number of years. TESI's been around for a while, and it's there's a lot of money that they're trying to raise for this, billions of euros. And so they have a roadmap that they're trying to develop. It's similar to the vision and goals of Synberg, although it's not as clearly defined in some cases. There's also a social aspect of it, human practices, if you like, that they're aware of as well. And of course, some countries have more regulation around the use of various technologies than others, if you like. Some are greener than others, for example. And the politics of science is different in one country versus another. And that's something else they have to contend with as well. But in general, it's a coordinated effort trying to advance the field, similar to the way we're trying to do it here in Synberg. But there, it's not contained within a single country, as ours is right now, but among partners. And so, in all these European countries. And so, you know, you'd have a lab in Spain doing a certain England. And of course, these would be independent. And the success of one lab wouldn't necessarily depend on the other. But they don't talk in terms of thrusts, and they don't talk in terms of interconnection of a thrust to a test bed. Mainly, it's large test beds, large technology basis for technology projects to, you know, to advance a genomic aspect of some project, or developing a series of biofuels in one place and having those components come out as parts, if you like. But the integration of all those projects isn't quite what we're looking here. But yet, it's synthetic biology, and it serves the purpose of delivering something useful, right? And so, it's again how you define synthetic biology, where there's no real agreement to. So it's either the creation of something new or the reconstruction of something that exists in a practical, standardized way. That's how we defined it there. And we don't believe that there's any competition, there should be any competition. All projects that are being done here in the United States, within Synberg, and in Europe, all of that should be connected in some way and advance the field. And I think that it's good. More is better, what you do. Some will contribute basic parts more than others. Some might just make a biofuel or some chemical for a specific purpose for one company. But if it's published and people are aware of it, and the world sees that it does some good, then it's good for science and it's good for all of us.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask one more question, because I think we've long past the 40-minute spot.
There's 6 minutes on the tape.
Oh, okay. So, what do you think it means to flourish, as in to have the good life, or use words like benefit society or benefit science or benefit people individually. Like, what does it mean to flourish? How is life benefited for those people?
Well, for example, a perfect example that exists today, I mean, the major success, if you think about it, is the project that came out of Jay Kiesling's lab, artemisinin. Now here's a natural compound that comes from a plant. It's hard to get at. And he was able, the people in his lab, and he was leading it, were able to assemble the pathway using the genes from different sources, and not all from one plant. Some of the pathway came from yeast, some of it came from different places, and he assembled this, and he was able to make this drug in E. coli, and then improve the production so that it became very cost effective. So now you have a cheap source of production of artemisinin. And Sanofi Aventis, the French company, French-German company, I should say, or maybe Swiss too, I'm not sure. There's so many different partners in that company. That company, at their own expense, is going to produce this and distribute it to governments in Africa for the use, to treat malaria. And also, so that's the use of this drug. So that's a clear success and benefit of synthetic biology, if you like. And certainly that could never be done if you had to depend on the supply coming from the original plant, because there's just no way anybody would be able to extract enough and make enough for this kind of use. So that's an example, in my opinion, of the benefit. Now, flourish, well, no one's going to make money off of this. Basically because the governments, the users, cannot afford this drug, but it's going to be supplied to them. Certainly when it comes to making cheaper fuels, the idea is it's not going to be done at a loss. So the consumer, you and me, will end up paying for that. But the supply should be great enough so that the costs won't be exorbitant. And then, of course, you replace the need for oil and foreign oil and all this other benefit that comes with this as well. And when I say flourish, is that the science behind it will be there to sustain it. So scientifically and from an engineering point of view, it should flourish. And commercially, it should succeed. And everybody will benefit so that there will be enough supply that we can use it and go about our life without having to worry about whether you can drive to the corner or not. So those are two examples, of one for the future and one for the present. And then one can talk about, for example, new drugs that one can make to fight off diseases, extend life, make people healthier, maybe even make them happier. So one can look in many different arenas for success. And I think that the practice of synthetic biology can get us there. The standardization of it will make it more doable and more reliable in the future. And also perhaps quicker if we can reuse parts and don't have to go back and start from scratch right at the beginning for all the projects that we have. That's the brief answer to your question.
2 with 20 seconds for sound.
Okay, I was just going to ask, was there any last minute or last things you wanted to say about Synbio or your role?
Well, I think that there are a lot of opportunities for synthetic biology